Thank you, Acting Speaker. Speaker, this budget was Labor's chance to actually back the regions and actually stand by the words that they say and that they read from their talking points on the other side about caring for Victorians. Instead, what it delivers is more taxes than any other state in Victoria, and it is literally pushing Victorians into other states. And those of us that live outside of the metro areas and in border communities can actually physically see that. And those on the other side might laugh, but we can literally physically see it. And I say this all the time, and I know I do, but honestly, living in a border community and watching people build houses at a rate of knots, make housing subdivisions on the other side, meanwhile still coming to school on our side of the river, using our hospitals, and yet they're able to build and grow their families and businesses on the other side, is really sad. And as I said, this was Labor's chance to actually look like they cared about the region. They're the communities that grow your food, your fibre, generate power in the member for Morwell and soon to be about 80% of the rest of regional Victoria as they continue to bulldoze through the regions haphazardly with their transmission line projects. Instead, this budget is written for Melbourne, by Melbourne, while treating regional Victoria as an afterthought, because we know that Labor can't manage money and it is regional Victorian families who are paying the price. In Melbourne, we see billions flow into new train stations and dirty big holes under the city, into road upgrades and sporting facilities in the city, but out in regions like Mildura and right across regional Victoria, we're left with crumbling roads, critically underfunded hospitals and classrooms that are, if they're not falling down, then they are absolutely bursting at the seams. And it's not just about dollars and cents. I know we're talking about the budget and there clearly is no sense, but it's about fairness and equity. Families in regional Victoria pay the same taxes, and actually those out in the regions actually pay enormously higher rates than those in the city, which is an arguable fact. Our rates are, for a house in Mildura, are triple the council rates if you were to live in Toorak or Paran. Triple the rates, and that's before adding on that extra emergency services tax. So they're already triple, and that is just and there are you've got a choice of hospitals. In Mildura, you don't have you've got the public or the private, and that's about it. We've got large local government areas that in a rate capping environment like this, we see more councils who are becoming less and less sustainable. And we heard Mayor Shane Sarley of Greater Shepparton talk at regional cities a couple of weeks ago about how local governments, and I'm glad the Minister for Local Government's sitting at the table, they are, because of the cost shifting of this government onto local councils and what they have to deliver, including things like their road repairs post the 22-23 floods, the Bullock Shire Council Minister is still waiting on $60 to $80 million in 2022-2023 flood funding that they haven't been reimbursed for. You'll be getting there was a notice of motion moved at the council meeting this week. Sorry, Acting Speaker, the Minister will be getting a letter next week after a notice of motion was moved at the Bullock Shire Council meeting last week, because they are literally a tiny rural council that just cannot survive. They struggle to be able to provide just the essential services of the local government, much less renew their assets or do any of the pretty shiny stuff. So let's talk about health. I touched on it before. Mildura-based public hospital, 130 beds for a catchment of 75,000 people. Now, if you do the math, that's one bed for every 577 people. One bed. Now, when this government and they bang on about it. The member for Eureka continues to bang on about it. I can't understand what she's saying, and I don't particularly care. But when we talk about that public hospital, they were supposed to, the government was supposed to invest in that hospital and upgrades and make it actually fit for purpose and fit for the community, Speaker. That has failed to happen. But I did actually manage, after an adjournment matter a couple of weeks ago, did actually manage to sit down and have a very productive conversation with the Minister for Health. But one bed for every 577 people in Mildura, you can find hospitals with double or triple that capacity for a much smaller catchment in suburbs around Melbourne. It is dangerous inequity in the regions, and it costs lives. It costs lives every day. Take transport. Our highways are crumbling, the rail network's neglected, no passenger train despite promises, and no plans to reinstate it, as quoted by the Minister for Public Transport in budget estimates earlier this year. Meanwhile, billions are being poured into a suburban rail loop because Labor can't manage money and they can't manage projects. Regional Victorians are not asking for gold-plated, shiny projects here. All we're asking for is the basics: safe roads, an actual train, much less a decent train, but decent rail freight would be good, the infrastructure to live, work and thrive in the regions. Because let me remind everyone in this House once again, Speaker, without us in the regions, you would be naked, hungry and sober. Let's talk about waste and management. Instead of fixing these fundamentals, this government has blown billions on waste. Billions. Blowouts on the Westgate Tunnel. Billions over budget. Blowouts on North East Link. Thank you, member for Rowville. $10 billion blowout. The suburban rail loop that's got no business case, but what, $200 billion? I mean, we throw that up in the air, put it on a dartboard and throw something at it, and that's what it might cost. But then when it actually comes to getting invoices and signing contracts, who actually knows? Because there is no transparency at all.
Just because it's the end of the day doesn't give you permission to interject.
Meanwhile, thank you, Speaker. Meanwhile, schools in regional Victoria are fundraising for basic equipment. There are classrooms being held together with chipboard because they're being eaten out by termites. And this has been going on for the past 5 years.
Time set down for me.